harm to themselves or to others in the community.
Reed, what's your plan for gun control?
I agree with what they both just said. High-capacity assault weapons really should not be in the hands of the people, and the people also should be getting mental health evaluations and background checks before they purchase their weapons. The only way this can happen, though, is if we compromise, because the far right will always want to keep their guns, and the far left will always want them to be gone. However, this can't happen at the same time, so what we have to do is meet in the middle and start somewhere, such as making the purchase of these high-capacity assault weapons illegal. It's little steps at a time that matter.
Brody, is that what we need, to meet in the middle here? Or we want to give ground to these Republicans, allow them to keep some of their guns that we know ought to be off the streets? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I do think we should meet in the middle. I think people deserve the right to own guns because it's their Second Amendment right. I also believe that there should be some regulation of the guns. I think there should also be more training classes and like more in-depth like background checks, like mental health checks. And I think this does open the gateway to talking about mental health in America. We don't have a really good support system for people with mental health like issues, and I think that most cases of people like going into a school and like shooting it, I guess, they do have a lot of mental health disorders, and I think that if we are able to fund more mental health facilities, that it would maybe help it go down.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'll open this up to anyone. The Democrats have been applauded recently since the emergence of a certain Republican named Donald Trump for really coalescing, kind of coming together, speaking with one voice. But as so many people are listening to you guys today, they're wondering, is there any difference among you? Why should I support one or the other? Does it matter? Should we just pick which one was our best friend? What makes you better than everybody else on the stage? So I'm sure you believe something makes you better than everybody up here, that you're the one that ought to be supported. And I think these people deserve to know what that is. So I'll take this up for anybody. Why you? Anyone? Go ahead, Kareem.
I'm not going to go as far to say that I'm more qualified than anyone else up here, but I can say that I might have more experience in this field. As many of you might know, I have family who have been in this presidential candidacy before, as well as I was the manager for former candidate Liam McCann, who really should have been president considering the failure of the Weber presidency. But I also do have a good perspective compared to a couple of the people up here. I am one of the 2 people of color up here, as well as second-generation immigrant, so I myself have been victims to the failure of modern society in America and know what changes need to be made.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Reed. Brody, he says that he's one of only 2 people of color up there. Does this disqualify you from being president?
No. Sorry. I mean, I think you can, I don't know. I mean, I can say I'm gay and like, I'd like to with all these things too. But I really think it comes down to the person and how dedicated they are and how willing to lead this country they are.
Callie?
I think that diversity is very important, and so although I wouldn't say I'm less qualified, I think that it's very important to get their views because they have different experiences and a lot more insight into certain things than like I would, and I think that's extremely important in politics.
Majesty.
I think everyone up here has pretty much summarized what I was going to say, lyric for lyric, bar for bar. I don't believe, however, that I'm more qualified than my other opponents up here. However, due to my experiences as a minority, given the fact that I am black and I am a woman, I can bring a new element of diversity into the political atmosphere, and I can really just have that first-person perspective when applying that to our current issues in society.
Okay, that leads me to my last issue here, and it's something that I know all of you agree on, that we need to implement policies that are going to help our environment, that are gonna slow down some of the damages that have been done by humans over the past century or so. But I wanna know, what are you gonna do specifically? What are you going to do to make the world greener, to make the United States greener, and to help save our environment? Brody?
Well, the first thing I did was make a super sick ad up there promoting going electric. I think that there should be more regulations on like companies and like doing things more sustainably. I believe that going electric is the future, and I think we should start turning towards that instead of just relying on the past.
Yeah, I really also do believe in going towards green energy. Currently, America is really relying on natural gas to keep us going, and though it is, what's it called, fueling our economy and our vehicles, it is also slowly killing our nation. So to compensate for that, we have to slowly transition to green energy, such as nuclear energy, which has been proven to be very effective in places such as France, where almost 90% of their energy is actually nuclear. So we can slowly start implementing this in some of our bigger states and move it throughout the U.S. as these years pass.
Majesty?
I would push for renewable energy to provide more reliable power supplies and fuel diversification, which enhances energy security, and it's a lower risk of fuel spills while reducing the need for imported fuels. Renewable energy also helps conserve the nation's natural resources, and renewable energy is energy derived from natural sources that are replenished at a higher rate than they are consumed.
All right, thank you very much. Callie, we're up against it here. It's time for our closing statements. What I'm gonna ask for you now is we'll start with Callie and we'll move across. I'd like you to give your last pitch to the American people why you are the best Democrat, why you should get their vote, and why you should be the next president of the United States.
If I were to be a president, I would listen to you guys. Your guys' opinions are very important to me, no matter what political stance you are, and I would definitely push for making the best decisions for America and its people.
Majesty.
Oh, here we go. I just wanted to start out by saying thank you all for listening to me today. I just want it to be known that I want to be a voice for you guys, a voice for minorities, a voice for everyone really, and I want to make an important fact that I want to bring a new element of positivity and diversity into the political atmosphere.
Reed.
I just want to start off by saying thank you for listening to me today. I really hope something I said struck a chord with you personally, whether it's supporting marginalized groups such as women, people of color, and immigrants, working across the aisle, or looking forward to green energy. I truly hope you consider me as your next presidential candidate, even if it does mean compromise. So I'm not really going to say that I'm better than anyone else up here, but I hope I'm considered.
Brody.
I hope my answers didn't scare you guys off today. I'm sorry I was not more prepared. Next time, though, I will. But I think I would be a very good president for everyone here, because I think I can bring both sides together and make kumbaya.
All right, let's give a round of applause to these men and women for coming up here.
All right, we got about 4 or 5 minutes here before we take our break. What I want you guys to do, if you go to Google Classroom, okay? You go to Google Classroom, there should be a link for you to take a poll on the Democratic primary debate. All right? So go to Google Classroom real fast before we take our little break and go ahead and vote in that poll. just a quick reminder, make sure we put our phones away again, AirPods and those things, all right? And if you guys can pay attention and give the Republicans here the same respect that you gave the Democrats, that would be wonderful. So, let's welcome our Republican candidates to the stage here. So, Republican candidates, go ahead.
I'd like to welcome you all to this debate today, which is brought to you by Westside's Battle of the Bands. So please come and enjoy your colleagues and their singing and festivities tonight. Westside Battle. Okay, with that being said, we're going to start with opening statements. We'll start over here. We'll work our way across. Please let us know your name and why you should be the Republican nominee for President of the United States.
Hello. So I'm Jose Lopez, and why I want to be the Republican president is I'm a hardworking individual where I always come out on top whenever I try my best. So I hope I could do this.
Thank you.
My name is Jack Gerard, and I'm from Ohio, and I'm seeking the Republican nomination for the presidency. I believe I'm the most qualified to be up here and to serve in the Oval Office. I'm the sole candidate with already a plan in place to become energy independent once again and to fix the tax system for middle-class tax cuts. For reasons that will be made clear in this debate, I believe I should have your vote. Moreover, I have the most widespread support with 7 state Republican Party chair endorsements, as well as the National Party chair endorsement and endorsement from the former Republican nominee for president.
I'm Zach Valley. I'm from New Jersey. I want to push for guns and pro-life choices. And yeah.
Thomas Savis, and I think I should be president because I'll be really cool, so yeah.
Please hold your applause till the end of the debate. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Tom Steele. I'm from Iowa, and I would like to be the president because I believe in America. I believe in this country, and I believe that I can make it the best it can be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys very much. When I pose these questions to your Democratic colleagues, what made them more electable than their colleagues or why they should be elected, a lot of them started focusing on identity, race, orientation, etc. Is that a problem in our country? Have we gotten too much into identity politics? Mr. Gerard, we'll start with you. What do you think about identity politics?
I think it definitely plays a role where your upbringing is definitely a part of who you are. But I think to make it solely your campaign strategy on why you should be elected is a mistake, because it's not really about where you come from. It's about what your beliefs are, what your policies are, how you act, and how you are as an individual. And I think that is paramount to the type of president that you will be, not who you were, it's who you are.
Mr. Lopez, so is it where you come from? Is it what you believe? Is it both? What do we got here?
For me, I believe that it's what you believe. It's however you work hard and however you strive. So if you strive to be the best, then you can try and be the best that you can.
Okay, thank you. Any of you three like to get in on identity politics?
I think that telling people to vote for you based on race or gender or something like that is really dumb because it implies that everyone of that race or gender all thinks the same.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on here, Zach. You brought up in your opening statement abortion. It's been a key issue. It was very clear from the Democrats that they thought that this was a women's issue, that you ought not to be telling women what they do with their bodies. Why do you believe that you have the right to do that?
So I am pro-choice, though I don't think that I do have much of a say. I would rather pass it on to somebody else that would have a better say instead of me. But if it was my decision, I would definitely be keeping the baby because that is how my morals are and that's what I believe.
Okay, but you don't believe the government ought to make abortion illegal. Did I hear you right on that?
Yes.
Okay, is there anyone up here that disagrees with that, that thinks we ought to restrict abortion rights? Thomas?
I think like women should have a choice to choose whether they want to keep the baby or not. So it's up to like the woman's choice, and it's her body, her choice. So
Okay, is there anyone that doesn't believe that?
Okay, so I absolutely believe that what you do with your body is your choice. That is just a fact. But it's not your choice what to do with the tiny body that's just temporarily inside of yours.
Mr. Gerard?
I think there's a middle ground to be met. I think up to a certain point it's absolutely the women's choice. However, like, I think my opinion is certainly flawed because I'm not an expert, but I think like a week in, like you're a week out from having the child, that is not okay. But if you find out you're pregnant and I think there's a middle ground to be met because both sides want different things. But I just think there's no specific right answer, which is why I think the first trimester, the woman has the right to choose no matter what, and after that, it should be left up to each individual state.
Mr. Lopez, is there middle ground to be found on abortion?
No, I completely agree with him. It's the first trimester, I believe that it's your choice, and then the states just leave it to the states.
Okay, let's move on to some foreign policy issues here. President Biden's balloon thing. Am I right? My goodness, right? What are we gonna do with this guy? Would you guys done anything different here with the balloon situation, Zach?
I think it was smart to wait and get it over an area where it wouldn't be harming anybody. But I wish it could have gotten shot down sooner.
Right. So Zach, you're the pro-choice Republican that thinks Biden's a smart guy. That's right.
I don't think he's smart, but I think in the situation, he did what he could.
Thank you, sir. Jack, what do you think here about the balloon situation?
I think our approach to something like this, or anything involving Chinese aggression, should be dealt with a zero-tolerance policy. China's obviously I think China, along with Russia, are the two main superpowers that are threats to us. So I think when dealing with China, it is paramount to make sure that there's no acts of aggression from them that could lead to a breach in our national security. So just whenever we're dealing with a foreign power such as China, we need to make sure that we're dealing with it in a way that does not open the door for them to threaten us in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from my men in the center here is be cautious, good idea to be cautious, we need to be firm, we need to be zero tolerance. What do you guys think about that? Where do you guys land on this? Mr. Spiel, what do you think?
I think they should have shot the balloon down the second it entered American airspace. I think trying to get any data on us is just really dumb.
Mr. Lopez?
So I think that he did the right thing by shooting it where there was no civilians, but I also think that it's a balloon, so you could have catched it any time with just like a hot air balloon and just inspect it for any other things.
Okay. Thomas, I want to come to you on a different issue. What role do you think that the government should play in the lives of individuals? So in each individual life, what role should the government be playing in that?
like, take care of the lives, or just play a part of it, or like not be like so like secretive and stuff. I think that's what I'll probably do. So.
Zach, same question. What role should the government have in Americans' lives?
I think there has to be some sort of leadership from the government, but I think individuals definitely need to be living their own lives and be responsible for themselves.
Okay, that really leads me to my next issue. And this is an issue that's been important to many people in the last few years, last decade. Republicans have cited many times about freedoms, government staying out of lives, especially related to the Second Amendment. However, in light of several tragic events, such as that in Uvalde, Texas, many citizens have called for stricter gun regulations. Do you think this is the answer to our gun violence problems? And if not, what is the answer to gun violence problems in the United States? Mr. Steele, we'll let you start.
All right, well, first, my heart absolutely bleeds for any victims of those tragedies. It's absolutely terrible what's happened. But no, taking away guns from innocent civilians is not the way to protect Americans. Not unless you can assure me that you're getting the guns away from criminals too, which I just don't see how you can.
Mr. Gerard.
Again, I agree with Tom that anyone who has been the victim of a violent shooting or has known someone who's the victim of a violent shooting, that is just absolutely terrible. I think background checks, not bans, is the answer. Background checks to make sure someone is fit and in the right state of mind to own a gun. Bans on guns, however, is not the issue. It is it's one of the foundings of our country, and the way our country was founded was with the Second Amendment. Without it, we would not actually exist as a nation. So I think banning is not the answer. However, restrictions on background checks and things like that are absolutely the answer.
Mr. Lopez, I'll let you kind of comment on them. I also want to bring up something else that was brought up in relation to this, not just background checks, but limiting certain types of weapons, ones that carry so many rounds per second. Would you be okay with limiting some of these more aggressive high-end weapons, or is that something you wouldn't want to do?
So I would, as the government, I wouldn't actually enforce all that, but I would let the states actually enforce the restrictions on high-capacity weapons.
Okay, anyone else like to get in on the gun debate before I move on? Go ahead, Zach.
So I think, along with Tom, everybody should be thinking about the lives that were lost in school shootings. I think we definitely need to dive in deeper with background checks and especially mental health checks. But banning is not the option because a lot of school shootings and a lot of just any mass shootings, the guns are obtained illegally. So I don't think that banning will actually do anything. If anything, it'll take away our protection against it.
Okay, thank you for that. Jack, our nation has become the #1 producer of oil and natural gas in the world, and many believe it's vital to our economy. Meanwhile, others are claiming that the time is now, in fact, the time was yesterday, where we need to push for renewable energy sources, electric cars, etc. Where do you stand on this debate between being proud of our standing as a producer of oil and the need to move to greener forms of energy?
I think they're both good. Being the leader in an export is definitely a good thing. And also, I think renewable energy definitely is needed in the future. However, the #1 priority in the energy of our country should be remaining energy independent. If we're not energy independent, other countries can use energy, something every single American uses and needs every single day, as leverage against the American people and our country. The point is that we need to be energy independent first and foremost, and renewable energy is, it's not a need above renewable energy, but it's definitely important. So we need to remain energy independent while we make our way towards renewable energy.
Thomas?
I think we should use like more like energy cars instead of like our original cars, and just like use more electric cars. That way it won't be like so much like pollution and stuff, and it will not be that as bad as like the environment is. I think we should like push more to that.
Mr. Steele?
Well, I fully agree with remaining energy independent. Making sure Putin can't price hike our oil would have been a very good thing several years ago. However, coal and oil are finite resources. They will run out. Fossil fuels, we do need to move towards more renewable energy sources in the future. The important thing is just making sure that the transition is smooth for all Americans.
Mr. Steele, since you brought it up, we'll stay here with you. Putin, Russia, has been causing a problem internationally over the last year or so. I think that goes without saying. How do we deal with this guy? What is your plan for reining in, stopping, and or otherwise defeating Russia and Putin in their latest adventure in the Eastern Europe?
Mostly I want America to stay out of it. I don't want us to be like the sole arbiter of peace and war all over the world. I don't want an American empire or everyone on the planet coming to us to resolve their problems. Sanctions against Russia and freezing their assets, all well and good. Sending soldiers to fight wars that aren't ours, though, I don't approve.
Gerard, is this a strong enough stance against Russia?
I agree with somewhat what Tom said. I think sending American troops to Russia or I guess Ukraine is definitely not the answer. Putting American lives at risk in a conflict that we really don't have anything to do with is 100% the wrong option, because it puts American lives at risk for something that we do not have a vested interest in. However, I know we need a similar approach to Russia as China. We need a zero tolerance policy when it comes to threats to our national security when it comes to Russia. Because if given the option, they will exploit that. So we need to make sure that we remain strong and not give an inch to Russia.
Okay, thank you very much. With that being said, we will head towards our first commercial break. You can give these men a round of applause. And we will be back after these commercial breaks.
Now the moment you've all been waiting for.
As a firm believer in unity with the people, I strongly support equal opportunity for education and the use of renewable energy. I also have a deep love for animal rights and support the innovation of space technology. When it comes to gun control, I believe in strict punishment for those who break the law.
Jose for America. Vote for a better future.
Hi, I'm Tom Steele, and if you'll pardon my pun, I'd like to steal your vote. I believe in a freer, safer America, one that doesn't have to worry about hostile foreign powers or depend on unreliable foreign aid. I believe in an America where the federal government doesn't interfere in the lives of its citizens, an America that isn't torn apart by political divisions. In short, an America that's better for us all. I want to create this version of America, but I can't do it on my own. I need all of your votes to help make this dream a reality. Thank you.
I mean, let's do the equation. Callie Miller plus Caden Weber. Democratic Party plus Soap Party. Does that really mix if you're a Democratic voter? You do the math.
The Soap Party is attempting to destroy our democracy and America. Don't let it happen. If you're up to me personally, like in my personal opinion, I would definitely vote for a candidate like Majesty or Reed, because they don't want to see America crumble into a billion little pieces. Listen up, Democratic voters.
I mean,
Come on back, men. All right, before we get into some of the inner politics that have been going on between some of you, let's move on to the economy. Something I've heard a lot of Republicans talk about is the deficit. Their fear that the deficit has grown too large. In fact, it has grown over $23 trillion. Mr. Lopez, what is your plan to eliminate or at least reduce that deficit the United States is facing?
I was thinking of just making more money, just printing out more money. Inflation.
Okay, Zach, is that your plan, printing out more money, inflation?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just move on from that then. There has been a lot of talk, Mr. Steele, that the Republican race is over. I talked to one student, they said, why are we having a debate? We all know that Jack's gonna win. Another one said, didn't Gerard already win? Do you think that's the case? Does Mr. Gerard have this in hand? Are you guys just wasting your time up here?
I think it's kind of rude to just discount 4 entire candidates. Jackie's a smart man, he might have this, but that's for the voters to decide, not me.
Okay. Jack, what about all this talk behind the scenes that you've already got it sewn up? Is the election rigged?
I think it's premature to assume that I'm already just going to win. I think this whole process of having the debate is important because it lets everyone know what everyone's views actually are and where they stand on the issues. However, I do believe I'm the most qualified candidate for the job. As I said in my opening statement, I already have the most endorsements by state party chairs, as well as the national party chair, and as well as the former Republican nominee for president.
Zach, what do you think? You electable here, you got a chance to win this thing?
I think I'm definitely electable for sure. I'm friendly with a lot of people, and a lot of people can get along with me, and I think that I have a lot to bring to the table.
Thank you for bringing up the friendliness. It's been a black eye on the Republican Party since the emergence of one Donald Trump. Thomas, would you be able to kind of mend that relationship that seems to have been broken between Democrats and Republicans since 2016? Would you be able to bridge that gap?
I mean, I think Donald Trump kind of like did a lot of good things for this country. I mean, he made peace with like North Korea, and I think and like other stuff. So I think it's like he did like an alright job.
Okay, Mr. Lopez, I'm hearing over here, Donald Trump. I don't think we need the distance from him. He did a pretty good job. What do you think about that?
So, I didn't like how many things Trump said during his campaign because I'm Hispanic and he said a lot of things about building the wall. And what I think is he did a good job with foreign policy, just not domestic policies. And what I want to do is enforce more domestic policies where it could help the people.
Jack, there's a problem with building the wall?
I don't think that's the answer. It's just going to create more and more. It's not going to help, basically. Like, people are still going across the border illegally. What I think needed is increased funding in border agents, with cutting that from the IRS. The IRS currently exists on an $80 billion budget. Only about $12 billion of that is necessary to fund the agency itself. So I think that can be diverted into a little bit into border security, but mostly just cut altogether, because if only $12 billion of it is necessary to run the country and run the IRS, that's 85% of the funding that could be in the American people's pocket, and it's not right.
Zach, I'm curious your thoughts on Donald Trump and mending the fences between Democrats and Republicans.
I definitely think Donald Trump went about, joining the two parties together very wrong. I think he could have done better, and that's what I'm going to do. I definitely want to bring us all together.
Okay. One thing that's been always a theme of Republicans is tax reform. It seems to come up every year. Donald Trump seemed to aggressively change the tax code. Some of those have been rolled back. Recently, I noticed when I paid my taxes, I had a little heftier bill this year than in previous years. Mr. Steele, where do you stand on America's tax code, taxing the rich, and all of the above?
All right, so here is probably my most controversial opinion. We have both an income tax and a sales tax. We're taxed for making money and for spending it. I want to get rid of at least one of those completely.
Okay, so Mr. Steele wants to get rid of income tax or sales tax completely. We all in agreement with that? Anybody disagree? Mr. Gerard?
I think it's tough to compare them. It's apples to oranges. Sales tax and income tax are severely different. You pay a sales tax just every time you buy something. If you don't make a lot of purchases or you purchase things in a lump sum, your sales tax is going to be less. And income tax, it's graduated, so it's different for every person. So I think to say cut one or the other without much forethought onto what each would entail is sort of not an intelligent thing to say, because they're so entirely different that cutting one or the other is going to have drastically different effects on how it will affect the country.
Mr. Steele, would you like to respond to your no forethought, not intelligent plan?
I'd like to say that obviously such effects could be considered and mitigated. That would not, I'm not just saying immediately make a change. I'm saying we have to be smart about it. But I think it's still ridiculous.
So Mr. Gerard, let you finish your thought then. What is the plan then? You assume you have an intelligent plan that has a lot of forethought?
I do have a concrete plan to fix this. The average middle class tax in the U.S., and that's from the 1%, below the 1% to the poverty line, is about 13.6%. Under my administration, on day one, an executive order would change that to be 9.6% average. Now that wouldn't mean 9.6% for everyone in the middle class. It would be graduated, like it is now. But I think that is a far more feasible and realistic solution as opposed to just saying cut the sales tax or cut the income tax.
All right, let's bring in an unbiased arbiter here. Mr. Lopez, what's your thoughts on the tax code?
I was thinking instead of the income tax or the sales tax, I was thinking the housing tax. So housing has been getting more expensive as of late, and with that, the taxes have just increased, and I want to reduce the amount of housing tax you would get from each house.
Okay, thank you very much. Thomas, I really want to shift gears here, get you guys thinking outside the box a little bit. We've just witnessed the Super Bowl recently. We're moving towards the Daytona 500 as well as the NBA All-Star break. If you were any famous athlete as a presidential politician, Thomas, who would you be and why?
Being Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's what I'm being proud.
Why would you be Giannis?
I mean, he's a great basketball player. He inspired me, and he's like very inspiring and stuff. I think he's like a good role model. Like, I think he's just, he's a great basketball player as well, and he won a lot of MVPs.
Okay, Zach, who would you be?
I want to be Michael Jordan.
Why Michael Jordan?
He's got some cool kicks, and he makes a lot of money.
Okay. All right, very good. Anybody else want to jump in on this one? Yeah, go ahead.
I would say J.J. Watt, he's an extremely hard worker and he's a very philanthropic guy. I just think all around he embodies what I would strive to be as the president. So that's why I would pick him.
I want to be Michael Jordan too.
Not
for the same reasons though. But I want to be Michael Jordan because he's smart with money and he diversifies his portfolio throughout just marketing.
That's a good point. Mr. Steele? I don't want to answer this one.
Walter Payton, because that's the guy who's friends with absolutely everybody, and he's also really good at his job.
Okay, very good. Okay, very good. Okay, before we kind of move towards the end of this debate, I know I need to ask you some questions about the economy. What are you going to do to get this economy going in the right direction? Ever since COVID, we've seen a reduction in workers. We've seen a lot of places shut down. It's difficult to find people to work in these industries. Is there a way to get us to a point where we have enough nurses, we have enough teachers, we have enough food service industry professionals? Like, what can we do to get this economy going? Whoever wants to go first on this, I'll let them go first.
All right, my plan to get back to energy independence as well as cutting the middle tax average by 4% is what will get our country back on track. It will grow the economy, it will keep more buying power and purchasing power in the pockets of the American people, which in turn creates more money flow through businesses and through the economy, which in turn, most importantly, creates more jobs. More money in the economy equals more jobs, and that is just the epitome of the issue. It will allow for just a return to what we've been striving for due to the crippling inflation and the crippling economy we're under right now.
Zach?
I definitely agree with Jack, and I like that you brought up the teachers in schools, because I think there has been a lot of teachers that have been like quitting their jobs because they're not getting enough money and they haven't been getting paid enough. I would like to put something in place that can help out teachers and either help them with benefits or immediately just raise their pay. But other than that, I think Jack took it away.
So, like pay more teachers, doctors, and pay more people who help other people, and like get jobs and get paid that people need to get paid.
So for me, I would say that we want to start increasing like the market and just having everyone start not spending, but having the idea of just getting more money, bang for the buck, basically. We want to have more of a diverse, we want the population to just want to buy more and have just the economy flowing.
Mr. Steele?
I think for getting out of a recession, we have to look at history. The less the government is involved, the better the economy does. The Reagan strat. Just take the government out.
Okay, that leads me into my last question. Taking the government out. Democrats have accused Republicans for just not having any empathy or care for impoverished Americans, especially when it comes to health care. Almost to a person up here earlier today, the Democrats said that they needed to make sure everyone had adequate health care, even if that meant a Medicare for all plan. Assuming you don't support a Medicare for all plan, Mr. Steele, is because you don't care about people. What's going on here with health care in America?
I care about people. I care about poor people. I don't think that universal health care is at all a good plan. It takes away people's autonomy and their choices in what health care they want to buy. I also don't think that people relying on government handouts is good for anyone, government or the citizen.
Mr. Lopez?
I want to push a new system, and what I want is to let everyone have affordable health care, but what's stopping us is making it affordable. It's by having no regulations on the hospitals themselves. For the hospitals to inflate the prices of regular goods like Band-Aids and prescriptions, it's just absurd. So my plan is to allow the states to enforce regulations on the prices on healthcare.
Okay, we're running out of time here, but does anybody else want to get in on this healthcare debate, Jack?
I think I agree with part of what Tom said, that universal health care, it allows people to rely on government handouts, as well as all in all, it's not realistic. It's not a sustainable model. The answer to this problem is not more spending, it's less. It's less regulations on private healthcare. It's less regulations on just the overall health sector, because this allows the businesses to lower their prices because they don't have to meet certain regulations, excessively high regulations that the government entails. Now, there is a place for public health care in the country, but it needs to coexist with private health care, because some people want the choice between public and private, and they don't want to be forced to use public health care that might be a subpar as compared to their private health care that they would prefer.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, we've gotten to the point of closing statements. We'll start over here. I want you to give your last pitch to the American people of why you should be the Republican nominee for president.
So I think everyone has a chance to be president. What really matters is how hard they try to become president. And I believe that it doesn't matter that what race you are, what sex you are, what belief you have. It's just how hard you work to become the American person.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gerard.
As you have heard from the debate, I believe I'm the most qualified manner of the job. I have clear, feasible goals that will actually fix our current economic state, as well as a willingness to work with bipartisan issues. I haven't mentioned before, but I have pending endorsement from the NUTPAC, which is a Democratic institution. So the point is, I'm willing to work with both sides. I'm the only candidate with bipartisan support, as well as the support from, as I've mentioned, 7 state party chairs and the national party chair. Thank you.
As Jack mentioned, I do want to bring us all together, mainly, and who doesn't love a lollipop? Let's be honest.
He'll be a good president, and I think he'll be a really good president, that's all.
Okay, Mr. Steele?
Well, I think I'd be a pretty good president. I don't want to abuse any power. I don't want to make lives worse for American citizens. I think I have the strongest ideals of anyone up here, and I'm willing to fight the hardest for them. Also, I'm the only one wearing a suit, so take that as you will.
All right, give them a hand, please.
All right, we have a couple minutes here. If you did not